So now we just move into agriculture. Then from there, we delve into the to draft constitution. So you've been here since Jaros regime, Mr. Jobarteh. How would you rate the agri sector from Jaros time to Jammeh's time and now to Barrow's time?
It's disaster. It's disaster. So sometime 2018 or 19, they brought a loan agreement to the National Assembly, a multi-million-dollar loan agreement, the Gambia and another entity, to say there is for support to small-scale holder farmers, women and youth in URR and CRR areas, something like this. I went to some NAMs. I told them, don't approve this agreement. I told them, go to Minister of Finance, look for the 8 bulletin. There are 8 bulletin. You will see between 2012 to 2015, the number and the amount of aid, loans and grants for agriculture that entered this country. I said, I did my calculation. It amounted to over $2.3 billion. And the projects in that period, they are the same projects as this project. So before you approve this, as the Minister of Agriculture, the Minister of Finance, what difference did those loans and grants make?
Before approving order.
Before approving.
Quite important.
They refused. They said, if they don't approve, the government will say, NAMS, we brought a project for women and youth, and NAMS are rejected it. I said, tell the people why you reject it.
Certainly.
Yeah. So this is to say, one area where there is incredible stinking corruption and incompetence is the agriculture sector.
That's what many accuse.
Yeah, the Minister of Agriculture is utterly useless, run by officials who care nothing about the food security, food self-sufficiency, farmers, and agriculture in this country. Look, this country is one of the most endowed countries on earth. Look at the structure of the Gambia. You ask yourself, which country is structured like the Gambia? I mean, it has a river in the middle that is never dry. From Banjul to Koina, that river is always flowing. Half of it is salt water, half of it is sweet water, fresh water. And they can all be used for agriculture.
Certainly.
You go to Combos, Tifonia and Combos, salt water, people are farming. Yes, very well. You go to CRR, LRR, all the way to URR, people are farming. So we have water that cuts across land that is fertile. Yes, the Gambian land, because it is not rocky. There are no rocks in this country. There are no mountains in this country. In other countries, you will see how they cut mountains. You look at a mountain, you see layers, of crops, different types of crops. I mean, the struggle to cut that, flatten the mountain, into steps to grow. You don't have a problem. Yeah, it's flat. And not just flat, it has no rocks, it is smooth. If you want to run a pipe from Banjul to Khartoum, 40 kilometers, in another country, there is no river. And it's like 1,000 kilometers before you get water. So in Khartoum, there is a river there, in fact. So what is the problem? You have an able-bodied population, a healthy population, ready for farming, who knows farming. Since time immemorial, people are farming. So all what we require is a government, a Minister of Agriculture, to put in the proper strategies, make the proper investments, so that Gambia will not only feed itself, but we are going to feed the rest of the world. You look at a country like Thailand, Netherlands, in Europe, Netherlands. It is not bigger than the Gambia in land size. In fact, we have more land than Netherlands, because those people, I think 90% of their land is what? But Are we not getting our pompeter from Netherlands, our
It's,
eggs,
it's sad.
and butter and things like that? That's our all agricultural products. So, and you go to Ministry of Agriculture, probably it has the highest number of PhD holders, well educated.
Crop science.
Yes, but you go there, FASDEP, LADEP, JIP,
FFO.
NEMA, CHOSO, ABC, XYZ, 123, all sorts of projects. All sorts of projects. I'm not sure they can even count how many projects they have. Everywhere, project implementation unit, they go and build a big building, they say public project implementation unit. But what do you deliver?
It does not reflect.
Nothing. Jahali Pachar can feed this country, can satisfy our rice needs. And so on.
And then even farmers there right now complaining for fertilizer.
Yeah. And all you can tell us, we have reduced fertilizer from 1,150 to now, we've reduced $50 from price of fertilizer. Is that not a shame? You cannot feed yourself. That rice, you cannot feed yourself. So, again, but to go back to the original point, we have a government that is incompetent, that is corrupt, that is inefficient, that is not interested whatsoever in the development of this country. Just like it is in agriculture, every sector is the same. So that even if they do their best, you realize it's not even enough. It's at the minimum. What they could have done by now should be far more than that. So this is the situation.
It's sad. Recently, the government, let me say the cabinet, has, gazetted, a new drafted constitution. And of course, there is a big saga going on right now. The human rights activists, good governance, advocates, have described this, constitution as not fit for purpose. Because, it is, many things has been changed that, were captured in the 2020 draft constitution. So we will focus on only few key important things because of time. So the first thing we will discuss is the presidential term limit as captured in this, drafted constitution. So, Mr. Wade, what is your take on the presidential term limit that is already embedded in this draft constitution?
First, I don't call it a draft constitution. I call it Barrow papers. Yeah, because Mr. Barrow or his cabinet, they don't have the authority to write a constitution for the Gambia. So for me, what they did is illegal. All right, to take the 2020 draft, which is what came from the opinions of Gambians, after having killed it, all right, in 2020, 4 years later, you take it and edit it and then want to impose it on the people. That is criminal, that is illegal. So I don't dignify that as a constitutional draft constitution. I take it as Barrow's papers. And more insultingly, to take those papers to subvert the will of the people, the sovereignty of the people. Because the 1997 Constitution, the 1970 Constitution, and the 2020 draft have all established that the sovereignty of the Gambia resides in the people of the Gambia, that the state derives its authority from the people and perform for the welfare on behalf of and for the welfare of the people. So if that is the case, any constitution we have should reflect
the interest of the
paramount the sovereignty of the people. Now, what Barrow papers did is to suppress the sovereignty of the people and raise the supremacy of the president above the people. That is treason, as far as I'm concerned. So that when you look at the Barrow papers, the amount of powers they allocated to the president, the way they reduced checks and balances for members of the cabinet, and the way they interfered with the rights of citizens means the Barrow papers is designed to legalize dictatorship in this country and legitimize corruption in this country. And that I find it to be treason. So I reject these so-called Barrow papers. And so that in that same light, the evidence of that treason is the way they treated the issue of term limits. So yes, they said a president should have 2 terms, but then where it matters to qualify that 2 terms in the constitution, you ignore it.
It's not clarified.
Yeah, you not only clarify, you just ignore it to state when should those 2 terms begin, when the term should begin, and that is fundamental.
Very important.
Yeah, that is important because if you don't state that, then you are setting the country for conflict in future, because that question will come. Yes.
When does it start?
When does it start? Because that is the conflict we saw Ablaye Wade had with the people of Senegal. That is the question we had that Macky Sall had with the people of Senegal. That is the question that Alassane Ouattara had with the people of Ivory Coast. It's the same question that Alpha Conde had with the people of Guinea Conakry, leading to a coup there in 2021. So that is this kind of situation these Barrow papers is pushing this country towards. Because when we have a constitution based on their papers, if that paper should stand as our constitution, it will raise the question then, the existing president, when did he stand? Was he qualified to stand for another term or for another 2 terms or not? And now that's a matter of interpretation. Mm-hmm. And then who's going to judge? Because the president and his people will be insisting that his term, he has not served 1 term yet, or he has 1 more term, or he has in fact 2 more terms. And the rest of us will say, no, you already served 1 term, and in fact 2 terms now, you are in your 2nd term. That should be the end of it. So are you not bringing chaos in the country, like we saw in Senegal, in Cote d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, in Guinea, where hundreds of people have been killed? So whoever puts your country in that situation, you are a criminal. You are committing treason, because you are now threatening the very existence of your country. That is what Barrow and his cabinet have done, which should concern Gambians very well. So that's my position on it.
So in a nutshell, Mr. Jobarteh is totally against the Barrow papers.
I am completely 100% opposed to it. And Barrow and his cabinet must be held accountable for this criminality, for this illegality. All right. We need to go back to our 2020 constitution. That's the people's draft constitution. That is the constitution that is to go to the people, and the people decide. Barrow, the cabinet, the National Assembly, they have no authority whatsoever to write or decide the constitution of the Gambia. So if they give themselves such powers, it's illegal. They don't have those powers. That's what every citizen should know.
So coming down to, President Barrow, I've been vested with the power, to appoint senior government officials just without, the parliament making a thorough check on those individuals. So, what do you think, forced the government to, state certain clauses, in the draft constitution, which you clearly mentioned that you call it the Barrow papers. So why do you think they captured that there? Like the president being vested with the absolute power without not allowing the parliament to overcheck or to cross-check on certain, or those appointments that he or she is making.
Yeah, so this is why I said the Barrow papers is designed. It is designed to legalize dictatorship, so that those powers of appointments are very significant. People should not take them for a joke. Appoint a minister, an IGP, a CDS, IEC officials, independent bodies, members of independent bodies, heads of public institutions, and so that is a huge amount of power. And that power should not be given to anybody to exercise unchecked. No. If you do, then rest assured you are encouraging dictatorship. So that the standard practice in democracy is to have parliamentary oversight. And the purpose of parliamentary oversight is not to deny the power to appoint a minister, or to deny the president to appoint an IGP or those other heads of institutions. No. What parliamentary oversight, the essence of it is to make sure the president appoints individuals who are fit for that purpose. So it is to make the president responsible. Yes, in your appointments, be responsible, be law abiding, consider public interest first and foremost.
For individual interest.
Yes, so that when you appoint somebody like Mahdi, you take the name to the parliament, and the parliament interrogate who is Mahdi Jobarteh to become a minister. Does Mahdi have the competence, the qualification, the experience, the expertise to be the minister for agriculture? Does Mahdi have the integrity, the character to be the minister for agriculture? Because to be a minister for agriculture, you are given part of the life of the country. Our food security, our food self-sufficiency is a national security issue. On that, lives depend, people depend on agriculture to earn a living, to build their future. So to be a minister is a huge task. Lives are in your hands. Submit to you huge amount of resources. Look at the budgets of each ministry. It's in millions of dollars to manage so that people's lives can be better. So you cannot go and pick any Tom, Dick, and Harry and make that person a minister. And that's why parliamentary oversight is important. So that, we say, okay, Mr. President, you have a right to appoint ministers, but bring ministers who will serve the public interest, who will uphold the law. So that is in your interest as a president. Because when you do that, then you are going to bring competent people to be ministers who will manage ministries efficiently, effectively, and that means the success of your government, and that means the success of your leadership. So it's in your interest. But we cannot sit here and say, no, we elected a president, so let him appoint people in his cabinet. No, that cabinet, that position, president, doesn't belong to the person who is the president. It belongs to us. So that in itself is not yours. It's entrusted to you. So you cannot just do anything you want. If I hire you to be my shopkeeper, I'm running a shop, I hire you to work in my shop. You cannot sit there and think you can do anything you want. No. I want to know, that you are making proper decisions for my investment. Yes. So the presidency doesn't belong to the president. The minister position doesn't belong to that minister, person called the minister. It belongs to the people of the Gambia. So whoever has got to be president or minister, we should check you. The IGP is the same. Look, what Jammeh used to do and what Barrow is doing now. You tell the IG, go and arrest people. You tell the IG, don't give people a permit. That's what they do. And that is what the IG does. Because the IG knows the president has appointed me and the president can remove
anytime.
Yes. So you and I should care who is our IG. Because it's about our life. Because the IG can arrest you and put you in a cell over there and torture you and kill you. We've seen that evidence here. Yes. So we cannot have anybody be our IG. No. Whoever should be our IG should be someone who has a character. This man is a man of or woman of values, has integrity, will uphold the laws, will not be there serving the interests of the president, will be there to serve the rights of Gambians as it is stated in the constitution. That's the kind of IG we want. So it's outrageous to think that the president can go and appoint the IG on his own, as if the IG is yours or the police is yours. The police is not yours. You don't need an IG who's answerable to the president. You can appoint an IG, but the IG is not answerable to the president. The IG is answerable to the law. And it goes on for all those positions. Look at our foreign service, the kind of ambassadors they appoint, the kind of officers they put in our embassies across the world. Disgracing the Gambia. Fighting, womanizing, engaging in corruption and fraud. Since 2017, how many of those cases have happened in this country? Because I have a president who can go and pick somebody on top of a mango tree and you make him a minister. I mean, a foreign service official, an ambassador, and so on. So they pick failed politicians, failed corrupt ministers, people who have been disgraced. You said we'll deploy you to the foreign service, our service. It's not your service as the president. It's our service, we the people. So whoever represents us around the world should uphold the dignity of the Gambia. You cannot have some, nonsense man or woman go there and disgrace us before the rest of the world. So these Barrow papers is a bunch of nonsense and it's illegal, and all governments will stand against it. That's the point. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, so Mr. Jawad, we are almost at the tail end of the interview. For now, this is just a personal opinion that, like in Senegal, we've seen President Jomai Faye and Osman Sonko from the past death have tried thick and thin, and of course, many individuals lost their life just to make sure that Macky Sall's government is being out, and that is they have succeeded. And from there, many Gambian youth see themselves in this the sue that they can also do it in the Gambia here. So, taking through a comparison from Senegal to the Gambia, the political system, do you think really it's about time Gambians also started taking up the same route that Senegal also took?
Um, I know Gambians are excited about Senegal, or in particular about Pastef and Macky Sall. I mean, Usman Sonko and Jomai
Jomai
Faye.
Faye.
And it's okay to be inspired, because as human beings we inspire each other, and as neighbors we definitely will inspire each other. And one must say, indeed, Pastef and Usman Sonko in particular um, demonstrated, remarkable, exceptional leadership and steadfastness. And you cannot fail to recognize that and respect them for that. Now, what they did in Senegal um, is also nothing strange if one understands society and politics and governance in the history of the world. Um, what they did um, has happened in different ways in different societies and will continue to happen. And one can even say, even the Gambia also, in our own way, it has happened, which is inspiring when you look at the 2016 coalition and how mobilization was done to remove Jammeh. Which is to say, whilst we may be inspired by others from outside, because we inspire each other, is to recognize that social political change is organic. Yes. Is organic. Yeah, and particularly if it is going to be durable or sustainable, it's organic. It comes out of the conditions, the circumstances,
Going
you
on.
know, of the society. Um, 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, probably even the Gansor people don't know Usman Sonko. Yeah, and but it happens in every society. Leaders emerge, and sometimes, not all, sometimes, but always through circumstances that are not their own making. Sometimes they find themselves in that situation and take charge of the moment, and so on. We've seen individuals like Usman Sonko in the history, of nations around the world, uh, in different ways, you know. So can that happen in the Gambia? It's a yes and no thing. Um, yes, it can happen because we are human beings. All right. Um, yeah, we are human beings. We live in a society, and how it would happen depends on the conditions and the circumstances of the Gambia. All right. So even a more remarkable situation even can happen in the Gambia than in Senegal. Um, but also, no, it may not happen um, if also um, we are not willing. Right. If we are not willing, um, it won't happen. Because also it's about a matter of being willing, having the will that we want change. Yes. You know. So do we have the will for change in this country? All right. Um, or not? So that is a question we need to ask ourselves. Yeah. So in a nutshell, I would say we cannot manufacture or import what happens in another society down here and think we'll do it, because there is no formula to it. Because you know how did Usman Sonko become head of PASTEF? How was PASTEF formed? It's organic, and as it develops, they still try to organize themselves to be conscious of what is happening and organize accordingly. But then at the very beginning, they were responding to the circumstances, the conditions in Senegal, and so eventually what happened happened. Yeah. So for me, Senegal is an inspiration, like many other societies are an inspiration. Um, Usman Sonko is an inspiration, like many other leaders are an inspiration. Um, and certainly the Gambia too um, had those kind of circumstances, or probably leaders or organizations. But then, how far, how strong, how last it will be, and how it will all emerge, would be something that would be organic, that would be based on our time and circumstances here as a people.
Interesting. So, Mr. Jobarteh, we are almost end now. Olaga, let's hear from you on your final take, or what is your final advice as per the draft? I mean, constitution is concerned, but you call it Barrow
Ballot
papers.
papers,
Yeah.
yes.
So, what is your advice to Gambians
Well,
on
my
this matter?
advice to Gambians is to reject totally, completely the Barrow papers, and to demand that the process that they have started to stop, that Barrow goes back to the 2020 draft and send it to a referendum, and the people decide. We go and campaign for it, yes or no. Um, if you feel there needs consultation, set up an independent body. I call it a constituent assembly, comprising a cross section of Gambians, to go and review the 2020 draft. Because when the draft came out, we have to also recognize the fact that people had disagreements, about it here and there. Some, because of religion, some because of tribe, some because of ethnicity, some because of, human rights and so on. People had different, positions. Some supported, it. Some, did not support it at all. So maybe it may be necessary to build a constituent assembly which will comprise Gambians from all walks of life. You can even have some ministers in that group. You can have parliamentarians there. You can have political party reps there. You can have youths, women, persons with disabilities, farmers, teachers, imams, priests. All right, 50 people, 100 people, 200 people, an assembly that will sit. We give them the 2020 draft. Over these 3 months, engage, all the issues that are there you disagree with the help of the CRC experts, to explain, to clarify, to refine, modify, edit, and so on. You work on that so that when you reach a consensus or a certain level, because maybe we may not be able to reach 100% consensus, but
Certainly.
at a certain level, you say, okay, the rest of it, let's now take this to a referendum, and people decide, and the campaign can continue. Some will campaign against it, some will campaign for it, and so on. So that is what all citizens must ask Barrow to do. All right. Our constitution should not be sent to the parliament for parliamentarians to review. They don't have that authority. They don't have that status. All right. The constitution doesn't give them any power to do that. So for me, I am opposed to that. Let the 2020 draft go back to the people to decide. And I want to tell governments finally, speak up. Yeah. Speak up. Engage. Don't be silent. This country is 60 years old today. Yeah. And look at the life we live in this country. This country is not poor. Naturally, financially, materially, we are not poor. Our wealth is just being squandered. That's the only reason, by the government. Yes. If you follow the Jana Commission or even the TRRC, you will see how Ya go to buy a tent for $88 million. The tent is at State House right now. That's the tent they use. 88 million. You will see how Jame take millions of dollars from public enterprises, Gamtel, Nawek, Social Security, GNPC, ports, and so on, and go and spend it anyhow he wants. So I can tell you, this country is not poor. There. No, 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 no. Anyone who tells you Gambia is a poor country, we are not poor. The Gambia has the capacity to generate its own development, to generate funds, finances for its own development. We are doing that every day. Who is checking how much port is generated? Or the Gambia Ferry Service? Or NAWEC? Or ports? Or GAMSEL? GIA? GNPC? Where do they report how much money they are generating, they are spending? But they don't do the job they are supposed to do. They generate money and squander it themselves. Government gives them money, they plunder it. And the service they should give us, they don't give us. And we sit here and say Gambia is poor. But the top at Gamtel, at Nawek, can pay themselves huge salaries, give themselves huge vehicles, enjoy flying about all over the place, and they're okay. So we are not a poor country. And it is high time citizens begin to see that this country is not poor. We should have by now, from Banyu to Koina, every street should have been paved. This government has that money to pave. I'm not saying concrete slabs, these nonsense concrete slabs are built in our communities. Proper roads, asphalt roads, well designed, proper drainage, with proper vegetation, with trees and flowers and landscaped, everything beautiful. This country has that money. The government has that money. From Banjul to Basse, every village, every town, every street, to pave it. Put street lights everywhere. This money is here to put in our schools, every public school, to make sure every classroom has air conditioner, is tiled, has television screens, has teaching materials, sports, footballs, games, everywhere, school compound well made. The money is here. To make sure every hospital, health center in this country, from Banjul, Edward Francis Ward Teaching Hospital to Koina, to make sure every hospital ward is air conditioned with, proper essential drugs available, adequately available, with, health equipment, machines to test us, to diagnose us. The money is here. And use your platform, send it out to the president, to the Minister of Health, the Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Sport, any minister, tell them, I challenge them to a debate to deny that. We have the money here to, build Gambia College into a modern facility, to put Faraba more than what it is. The resources are here. So the only thing is, those resources are being squandered by a few people at the top. And so I want Gambians to realize that the suffering in this country is not God created. It's not because we are in Gambia. It's man-made by people at the top. And it is high time that if you are a Gambian, you respect yourself, you love yourself, you love this country, to begin to speak up, to begin to refuse the narrative that the government and its officials are spreading, that this country is a poor country. Anyone who tells this country is a poor country, tell them it is a lie. Anyone who said Gambia doesn't have resources, tell them it is a lie. And I challenge the Minister of Finance to convince me in a debate that this country is a poor country, because it is not. So this is what I want to tell Gambians.
Thank you,
Yes.
Mr. Jobarteh.
Yes.
And then it was a fruitful discussion.
Okay.
And I believe the message, is clear on some of the key important things that we've discussed. So, dear viewers, this was all we have for you today on our program titled "Let's Talk About It." I think you've seen that, or you've heard that we've discussed, so many issues, that are perennial in this country, relating from health, agriculture, understand, good governance, and democracy, and most importantly, currently, the saga in this country, which is the draft constitution. So this program will come your way weekly. Stay tuned with us. Comment, like, and share our videos, and of course, join us next week on a different, discussion on our educational aspect. So until then, I would like to thank Mr. Mari Jobarteh for accepting our invitation and for giving us the time despite your busy, engagements. So until then, I was your host Ibrahim Mbaye. Bye bye from my side to you all. Thank you.